Yeah, that's the stupid-ass intro I put together for tonight. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Cory's Corner, not Dick's News International. But we do have some news stories to cover about some crazy shit. Joining us tonight, right here on the panel, is Pope Metallicus the First. What is up, homie?
Good evening, sir. Thank you for having me.
Hell yeah, thank you for being here. It's great to have a guest, especially one who's so renowned. Everybody knows who you is.
I have to come down and speak to my flock every now and again, or what kind of shepherd would I be?
This is true. This is true. That is a fair point. Let's say hi to the chat. It's Vince Womack. He says, drop a tip at ko-fi.com/Sir Talks a Lot. Yeah, check it out. Also, my Bandcamp is there. Yeah. So I'm going to do something that I customarily do in Dick's News U.S., but since I didn't do it this last week, I'm going to tell you about this kick-ass dinner that I just made and ate. So we made shepherd's pie with Wagyu beef and like these really good potato recipe that my wife puts together that I couldn't tell you exactly how much of anything she puts in it. I know what's in it, but I'm like, I don't know how much. She just does it.
Yeah, it's one of those recipes where the magic is who's making it.
Yeah, yeah. All I know is they're fucking delicious. And the Wagyu beef we cook up, like I cook that shit so good. It's I love Wagyu beef. It's American Wagyu beef, so I didn't pay like $4 billion for it either. I think it was like
you're getting. I think it was like quality meat. Especially any kind of foreign cuts are just insane now.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. And I've never been one to buy like foreign cuts of meat where it's like, this is a steak that was imported from Japan. I'd be like, well, what's wrong with an American cow? You see Bessie over there? I want her for dinner. Go
funny
put that pneumatic hammer down.
You know, I live in rural Virginia. Up the street from my parents' place that I go to every weekend is a couple of cattle farms. They're all beef cattle too. And, you know, you go to the supermarket and it's just like, oh, you want a like, a 14, 15 ounce ribeye or something like that? That'll be $22. And we're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. Isn't it great?
I look at the prices on these things and I'm like, what are you, high?
Check out how much it would be to go to a meat locker.
Honestly, that's what I'm looking into. But for, 3 people, like even if it's split between me and my folks, it's just like,
that's a lot of meat
for one person.
I get that for sure. But like, even then they might be able to give you a better price on the cuts that you want though, too, because most of the meat lockers have an in-house butcher to give people cuts that they want instead of giving them, okay, well, here's half a cow,
Yeah, that seems to be most of what the deals are around here is like, you go to the butcher once a season or whatever and buy an entire side of beef.
Yeah, I like the more selective butchers, but you have to go to the right places to find that.
Down here, what you'll get a lot is deer processors because we are hard at deer country.
I love deer. It's really good.
If you get someone who knows how to cook it right, it's amazing.
I cook it right every time.
Everywhere down here. I'd heard the stories when I lived up north about, Virginia and how many deer they have running around all over the place.
Yeah.
I never really believed it until I started living here.
That's fair.
They're literally like people see squirrels in their front yard every day. There is at least 2 or 3 deer in my yard every morning.
Man, so the deer here in Colorado are all like buddy with all the residential people. So it's like they're in the lawns and they're all this stuff. And I'm like, I fucking hate that. Not only because they block my traffic, but it's like, I'm not allowed to shoot you right now. So get the fuck off my property.
And they know it too. They know where they don't get shot at.
They do. And I'm not allowed, like, you know how much meat is on a deer? I mean, come on, if I could shoot that thing and it would be delicious. And like, that actually brings up a funny story. So taking care of old people always gives you into weird situations. and they always worrying about different things. And one time, my mother-in-law, she was all sitting there worrying, like, what if we're in the end times and we have to fend for ourselves? Who's gonna get us food? And I stood up and I'm like, I'll just shoot a deer out the front door and bring it inside. Like, I'll hang it up in the garage, drain it out through the drains that are in there. Like, we'll be fine. She's all like, you can do that? I'm like, I've done it before.
Like, what do you think we do? And like my place or my parents' place is rural enough where looking out my window at one point last year, I was literally sitting there, I think on a stream with somebody, and there was a deer not 15 feet from my window. Like, if the window was open, I could have just grabbed my rifle and just kind of like, I'm gonna have to mute real quick.
You're good. Yeah. I would be like, dude, yeah, you got to send me a piece, you know. Like,
and they're on the smaller side, but they look healthy. So
that's what's important, is if they're healthy or not. It doesn't really matter how big they are if you're in a survival situation. So why should it matter any other time? I know that the states have their laws and such and blah, 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 blah.
The only reason that matters is, like, you know, how often you're going to have to go hunt. Like, if you can drop a bigger one, you can feed a family for a week and a half.
You can grind the bones to make your bread. Hail to John Edgar. He says, greeting, fellas. Sorry I'm late. How dare you, sir? It is 6 minutes, almost 7 minutes into the stream.
Unacceptable.
How dare you? Anyway, Christian Delorme. He says, bonsoir, everybody. Two of my favorite YouTubers. Thank you, sir.
Good to see you, man, always.
That. This man told me earlier that being his friend was a punishment, and I disagree. So, yeah, I know he's just kidding, but yeah, knowing that guys are a lot of fun. I learn a lot of stuff about music, and I have a good time. Yeah. John Edgar says, I am duly chastised. Good. You should be.
Not until my non-secret police get there. Then you'll be sorry.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Not yet, you're not.
God, I could probably charge for that service at this point.
You probably could. You probably make a killing, too. Like, it's not prostitution. It's nuns whipping people who have been bad.
Exactly.
It's a religious experience. I'm the Pope, motherfuckers. Anyway, so tonight's show's basically focused around a lot of weird shit that I found on the internet. And yeah, we're gonna start with did you hear about the elephant in Montana?
No. Did Lizzo do a show in Montana?
No, but the next best thing happened. Montana doesn't have enough bananas for Lizzo. That's what that was. But an actual elephant, a circus elephant, escaped in Butte, Montana. This is from Roz Alerts.
Okay, then.
Yeah, so there was a gigantic, full-grown elephant running around Butte, Montana recently. And let's see, little casino. Yeah.
I mean, Montana is the kind of place where, like, you know, you might see an elk or a moose or something like that run through traffic like that. Elephant's probably going to make people check whatever's in their drink. Just like,
right?
What? Okay.
John Edgar says, no way, you don't see that every day. I know. That's why it's on my show. Because the last thing I expected to see pop up on my feed was an elephant running around, kind of not really rampaging, but just like kind of lost. It was like a dementia patient, just wandering around doing whatever, getting in traffic and being generally like unhealthy with its habits. But seriously, like, this is a fully grown fucking elephant, like running through the streets.
It's bigger than a freaking ranger.
Yeah, the animals that used to roam this place were probably buffalo, and it would stand just below just above the belly line on the buffalo's back, probably.
And buffalo are like 900 to 1,000 pounds easy.
They're gigantic. You know, Montana. When I think Montana, I don't think elephants.
Actually, isn't the buffalo on their flag?
I think so. Yeah.
And I know for a fact, you know, what they used to call buffalo rifles are 45-70s. That is a big goddamn cartridge.
That's huge, dude. Wow.
And to the point where even in the modern era, a rifle cartridge that was developed in the 1870s for, our first smokeless powder rifle will overmatch our best version of body armor. It'll just smash straight through it.
Well, that's because they were designed to do that with really big animals. So we have to be able to beat the thickest hided animals with efficiency and everything like that. And they made sure that they could not only shoot an elephant and kill it, but like maybe they'll get the one next to it too.
I mean,
They're
in
like,
this case,
hey, if I can get through the rib cage, like this is a trick shot. Hold on. Ah. Straight through the rib cage, out the other side, and it killed its mate. No lonely hearts
well,
tonight.
what I think is hilarious is this was a round that was actually developed to hunt buffalo on the prairie, and the U.S. military just went, we could use that for
Yeah.
what? People?
Isn't that what they usually do?
Oh, I mean, well, you have the military back then, and then you have when I was in, and you guys aren't supposed to use 50 cals on people anymore, but it's the thing we have on the roof.
I don't see why you couldn't.
Yeah,
use
being in the
50
military
cal,
in
but
the
anyway.
early 21st century was a special experience.
I bet. Christian DeLorme says, I've been in Montana bars. I saw a few land whales. I have no doubt, sir.
That's
to see
true.
a land
Maybe the
whale most
elephant
of the
was just
time,
looking for his mate.
right? It saw a chunky bitch running around from the steakhouse, and she's like, "Oh Lord, let's get the hell out of here!" And then the elephant's all like, "Oh, what's up, honey?
Finally, one of mine.
Let's get freaky." It'll be great. She'll have a great time. What's the biggest sombrero you've ever seen in your life?
The most comically large sombrero was actually worn. I have a picture of it, not on this computer, unfortunately. A buddy of mine who wore it while we were on the way over to Afghanistan. Because we're all just on a commercial airliner at first. And I don't know where the fuck he got it. It was just one of those things no one knows where it came from, but it appeared in the midst of our group. And in the Marine Corps, no one asks where things come from because we're not going to like the answer.
Well, yeah, you don't. You don't. That's still under don't ask, don't tell.
No, exactly. It's just, hey, it's a thing that appeared magically in the middle of our formation. We don't know how it got there.
So how large was this sombrero, would you say?
At least a foot out from his head on either side. Probably
Gotcha.
18 inches.
All right. That's a decent sized sombrero, I'm not going to lie. But the largest sombrero I've ever seen is this one.
Oh my God.
That man has SPF. Yes.
That's not a hat. That's a satellite dish with feet.
Look at him go, man.
Especially if it looks like it's woven. That has to be heavy as shit.
That man has the strongest neck ever. He can never be hanged.
Right?
It'll be like that one movie with what's his fuck Lautner?
Oh, is it you talking about Hateful Eight?
Yeah, that's it. Yep. He says, "Man, now that is a man's hat." That's fair. Christian DeLorme says, my favorite sombrero is R.J. McReady's.
Oh, yeah.
McReady is The Thing. In The Thing. The Thing is such a good movie. That's my favorite brains farting.
And you know what? They keep trying to, they keep teasing a remake, and everyone who likes either horror or sci-fi is like, no.
Yeah, please don't touch that movie again. They did one that was like a half-ass prequel thing. Like, I didn't mind it for what it was, but it wasn't great.
And the reason we didn't mind it was it wasn't pretending to be The Thing.
Right.
Which, ironically, is the whole premise of The Thing. Of a horrible monster wearing something's skin.
Right. So, this next one, I'm going to
including, unfortunately, my own pet franchise, Warhammer 40K. It was
Warhammer
fine.
40K.
Until this week.
You're not happy about the female Space Marines?
The funny part is, like, a lot of the guys have a point that this has been done before.
Word.
in terms of changing established lore 20, 25 years down the pipe, and we're changing how things work in the setting. But how it's always been done before is we either gained a new understanding about something we never knew was happening, and it hadn't been contradicted before. Like, it wasn't stated like, oh, this isn't a thing, and then it's a thing. And also, it wasn't a change like the Primaris Marines were in 8th edition, where it's like, oh, hey, we finally figured out how to make better Space Marines. Here they are. And from then forward is going to be that. But it didn't then retcon the abilities of the Space Marines for the last 10 millennia, going, oh, yeah, they've always been like that. You just never noticed.
Yeah,
that was
okay.
the problem, is the gaslighting.
Yeah.
It's just like, what?
They should just own up to what they're doing. And that's one of my big things, is like, nobody deals honestly in corporate worlds anymore.
And how I know they did the wrong thing is not only did they just sneak it in the back door through a codex entry, like no novel, no announcement, no. And here's the thing: GW is a soulless money-making machine. Yes, I'm aware of this, and everybody who's into 40K knows this. But usually when they're being soulless monsters, they're trying to sell you something.
Right.
And like, they usually do something like a new model line or changing the rules, so you have to rebuy your army. There is no new model associated with any of this shit. So why announce it now?
They're still following orders. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They're all just cogs. They're all just cogs.
A normal Games Workshop perspective of being a scummy company, this doesn't make sense.
Well, and that's the thing, is a lot of these companies are complicit with the actions of DIE, as I'll call it. A lot of people call it DEI, but I still like to refer to it as DIE, because that's what it makes your company do.
Pretty much.
But the thing about that is when they rely on that and they have to do the inclusion stuff in order to maintain other contracts that they have, like some companies, I don't know if it specifically applies to Disney or not, but I'm going to use them as an example. Let's say Disney has a morality clause where in order for you to produce their toys, you have to live up to their morality standards. Then the companies that rely on them for their primary business and the toys contracts and stuff like that will bend the knee to those people out of fear, and out of fear of just losing their livelihood. And I think that's a bigger problem in today's society, is people will bend the knee because they're too worried about losing something that's probably going away anyway. Because
that's the example with Games Workshop being a lot of their lower level manufacturers and stuff like that. Like, they have people that print resin models and stuff like that for them. So at a certain point as a CEO, you do have to be worried about the jobs of the people you do business with, whether it be internal or suppliers that you do business with, because that is your responsibility at the end of the day. But you have to keep in mind that is a weakness that the left has used in the past, where they will use the jobs of your employees against you.
This is true. Very, very true. Christian Delorme says they did okay job with Fallout. A lot of representation. I'm not really worried about that too much. I at this point, I'm gonna watch Fallout to see if they've honored the games as I know them. So, and if they haven't, then
did you play 1, 2, or New Vegas?
I played 3 New Vegas, 4 avoided 76. I couldn't do the top downs.
But here's the thing: since Todd Howard is an EP of the show, they basically ignored anything that wasn't Fallout 3 or 4.
Really?
Because Interplay on the first 2.
I guess this is a hot take, or what the fuck ever you want to say, but
they didn't ignore it, but they intentionally kind of spun it so it didn't matter.
Well, New Vegas was good as a
standalone
spin-off of the game.
It was done by Obsidian.
I get that, but it was I still enjoyed it. It wasn't Fallout 3 for me, but at the same time, like, I didn't like Fallout 4 all that much.
I have a special relationship with Fallout 4 because where I used to live in Massachusetts is literally on the map. like in relation to everything else, I can find pretty much where my town is. But and I will say the power armor system in that game was awesome outside of the
Dude,
whole needing batteries thing. But
I'll
it
agree with
feeling
that.
like an actual vehicle rather than just a tin suit that's much better than normal. I liked a
I'll
lot.
agree with that. Yes, 100%. I liked the
And
customization on those armor pieces too. Like,
yeah,
I
outside
don't,
of some of the attachments that were never part of the lore before, and
or
somehow they
or ever
managed.
used, like, yeah, or ever useful. I mean, there were
And
only a couple of them that were really useful.
well, yeah, and even like things like they showed off in the show, a freaking jump jet, really? Like you're in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, and you can scrape together a jet engine that can lift a suit of power armor off the ground for more than a couple of feet.
Right.
That's some serious thrust, and that's also not. I would love to see something like that. 40K does this with the assault marines because it's the same, essentially the same concept and the same weight of armor.
Yeah.
And basically, when these things hit what they're aiming at, they're it's not like, we're going to fly around and hover above the battlefield. It's basically, I'm going to pick a direction and a trajectory, and I then turn into a ballistic object.
Yeah.
And wherever I come down is going to be really, really sad about that fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
All right. So
so you have like a 2-ton object that's landing on something.
that's a lot of damage. Getting hung up with my headphones. Sorry. So Christian Delorme actually has an interesting question here. He says, for game movies, or I mean, John Edgar does, but it's related to this question, to this statement. He says they should do Duke Nukem, and the babes should only be Double D and up.
Oh, that's a question for the Toxic Tuesday crew, I think.
Yeah. Who would y'all
I'll give it
pick
a
to
shot,
play
but
Duke
goddamn, you guys would
Nukem?
have fun with that question.
Hail to the king, baby. Who would you choose?
Oh, I was one of those kids who was way, way too young when I discovered that Duke Nukem is actually installed into your OS back in the day. Yeah. I don't know who you'd pick to play Duke. That's tough. You have to find maybe Brock Lesnar or something like that, like the largest, most toxic human being you could possibly imagine.
I know that he's kind of a hot item right now, and he's currently being cycled as Hollywood's new darling boy. But I would go with Alan Richson, honestly, because if you ever watched him in Blue Mountain State,
I know,
you'll know how funny he can be. So if he was able to take the intensity that he brings to Reacher into Duke Nukem and hit it with the same level of humor that he can bring in Blue Mountain State, I think Alan Richson would be a fantastic.
I could see an argument for Alan Richson. I can also see an argument for a guy like Brock Lesnar because he is just a 300-pound meat tank.
But the problem I have there is
he can barely act. It's just like having the 80s action movies back.
That's fair. That's fair. And honestly, Duke Nukem is fantastic.
It's just such a product of its time. It came out in what, 91, 92? Right about the end of the action movie genre.
Yeah.
Because I remember in short succession there, I managed to talk my parents into taking me to see Terminator 2 when I was 5.
That's all right. That's a great movie for 5
I got my
years old.
first PC, which had Windows 3.1, which had Doom and Duke Nukem in it. And the next year, I was super into dinosaurs by that point, so they had to take me to go see Jurassic Park.
Okay. Since you said that, I'm going to ask the one question nobody ever fucking asks anymore, and it's because we've lost all connection. What is your favorite dinosaur?
I've had a couple over the years, but I keep coming back to the Velociraptors.
Nice.
They're smart. They're pack hunters. They're quick as shit, and they adapt very quickly to changing circumstances. It's hard not to love them. They're kind of the ultimate predator of their age.
They're pretty badass, for sure. I like the Sarcosuchus.
Okay.
Giant alligator, crocodile guy.
Oh, you mean the one that's the size of like a school bus?
Not the Mosasaurus.
No. I mean,
but yeah, the
I forget.
Sarcosuchus was one of the largest animals in
Are you talking about the
history.
land version of that one,
Yeah,
or
yeah, the
yeah?
largest sea dwelling one. Like I haven't researched it enough, but it's a giant version of the one of Sarcosuchus. So I think I would really like it.
Yeah, there's
So.
one that was like a land dwelling alligator type thing, except it's the size of a bus.
Yeah,
And that's one of those.
I
It's like,
love those.
no,
And
God,
like
no. Why does this thing exist?
dinosaurs were awesome. So great. And of course, Christian Delorme being Christian Delorme says Lycosaurus. Yes. And
Sure.
Lycopus. Yeah. You, sir, are a dirty old man. Yes.
And we applaud you for it because we also are dirty old men.
This is true. This is true. So, Pope, do you believe this is the correct way? Let's turn that up. Yeah. To eat a cinnamon roll.
People don't know this, but this is actually the right way to eat a cinnamon roll. We start by unraveling it from the center and.
Do you think that's the right way to eat a cinnamon roll?
In the Dix division, maybe, but on my own, no.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to keep your etiquette up in front of the boys and show them what you can do, but you know.
Right. I mean, look at that. Look at that. Is that the right way to eat a cinnamon roll? I don't think so.
That looks like heresy.
John Edgar says Triceratops, like a big prehistoric elephant. Yes.
I can see a lot of arguments for those bigger ones. It's kind of a battering ram with a face, and I'm about it.
Yeah, for real. Well, this guy also disagrees that this is how you eat a cinnamon roll.
That is not the correct way to eat a cinnamon roll.
That is one of my favorite clips of all time now. Especially because of this.
That is not the way you're supposed to do it. That is some false ass information about the cinnamon roll, and I don't appreciate it. You're gonna have all these goofy ass children walking around eating the cinnamon rolls the wrong way. That is not correct information.
You know, as much as I want to make fun of it, he's not wrong.
I know.
This will be on TikTok in a month, and you will sit here and have a.
I'm pretty sure this was
tray full of young women slurping up cinnamon rolls like goddamn ramen noodles.
I'm pretty sure this came from TikTok.
No, in that case, it's probably already there.
Who eats the cinnamon roll right there?
Is that the correct way to eat a cinnamon roll?
Well,
Take
I mean,
a big old bite out of the side. He looks like he would know, but I mean, honestly, I've always said never trust a fat chef because they'll put anything they want in their mouth.
This is also true.
And that doesn't mean that it's good food. I just have to listen to this one more time.
That is not the correct way to eat a cinnamon roll.
I mean,
that man is fucking hilarious. John Edgar laughs. He says, Mandy Summers says she has to be related to this dude and loves his videos.
And, you know, I hate making fun of Southern accents for the way they talk, because especially a lot of it is just difficult for that accent to say. It's not that they actually are uneducated and can't pronounce that word correctly. Especially coming from New England, where we are basically the closest thing to British English that the U.S. has.
What you mean, British English? You guys drink water over there too?
No, the funny part is if you look back at how they used to talk back then, it was very similar to British English because we were only separated by a generation or two.
That's fair.
So it would be like the Irish immigrants are essentially now, where they have the same accent as everyone else, but
in the mafia.
It turns the inflection into part of the accent. Same thing with New York.
Ah, I see. Is that why Boston's so strange then? I've heard Boston is a strange place to go.
Speaking of which, interesting place because we have like 4 accents in the same city.
Yeah. So listen, this coming Wednesday, I believe it is, we're going to be over on Christian Delorme's talking about bands from Boston. So make sure you're subscribed.
My accents are going to come out.
You better be subscribed to the Christian Delorme's Final Revival. Yeah. All right, we're going to be talking bands like The Cars. We're going to be talking bands like Aerosmith, etc.
Boston themselves.
Hey, are you sure Boston's from Boston?
Yeah, my dad actually went to high school with their lead singer, so
It was a joke, man. Gosh. Anyway, so Pope, what do you think the longest prison sentence in the world is?
Well, I know there are people serving multiple life sentences.
Yes, but let's talk numerically defined sentences. What do you think the
The
largest is?
longest one I think I'm aware of was some guy who killed like 14 people and got 215 years in jail for it.
Yeah, that would
And I remember
suck.
it because it was oddly specific.
That is oddly specific. You're right. Strange. Greetings and salutations.
Hey,
One
one-man
man
show.
show. Awesome to see you, buddy. So, chat, without cheating, what do you think the longest prison sentence in the world is? And if Vince Womack is out there, once again, no cheating, Vince Womack.
And I feel like at a certain point it should just stop counting and we just, hang you. It's just like, well, you're never getting out of here ever again. So
I agree.
let's just skip the wait, shall we?
Right. I actually share this sentiment. And
It saves you time. It saves us hassle.
And Christian Delorme says marriage. I hope your wife isn't watching,
that's
buddy.
voluntary, and you did that yourself.
Gosh. Yeah, that was a choice. Gosh. Raisy Fingers. Hail, Raisy Fingers. I missed you earlier. I'm sorry. He was talking about Space Marines being 600 pounds by themselves without armor.
Yeah. That sounds about right. So outside of their armor, they're basically a refrigerator.
Yeah.
And that's before you include the, extremely thick power armor they wear. They weigh probably about a ton each.
That's crazy. Raisy Finger says like 10,000. John Edgar says, didn't Bernie Madoff get over 100 years ripping off investors? Gets you more than murder. You have no idea. And one man show, showing his understanding of the world, says 100,000 plus years.
Okay.
And he is correct.
What?
The longest prison sentence in the world belongs to Shamoy Tipsayo. I don't know. But it's 141,675 years in Thailand for corporate fraud. Followed closely by 42,000 years for the 3 people responsible for the Madrid train bombing. And then, of course, down at the bottom, there's Charles Scott Robinson, who got 30,000 years in the United States for grape.
That's a special kind of stat where corporate fraud got you literally 4 times as much as a bunch of terrorists and one of the most infamous rapists in the United States' history.
Well, yeah. 30,000 years for one of the most heinous crimes you can ever commit versus, but then you have to look at what this is. In Thailand, they don't sentence people to life in jail for super serious crimes. They execute them. That's just how it works. It's the same way in various countries all over the place, South America, and stuff like that.
Have the death penalty do shit like this. It's usually that I not only want you to not be a problem ever again, I want to make you suffer through every second of it.
Right.
Because let's face it, if you execute someone, even if it's pretty bad, it lasts a day or 2 at most, and then it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, even crucifixion only took a day or 2.
That depended on your core strength. No.
Well, I mean, it kind of actually, but after a certain point, it's all over. I think the longest they had on record was like 2 or 3 days. And then there's that guy in Iran that survived getting hanged 3 times, which no one's entirely sure how that worked.
Right. Well, there was another guy here in the States who died during his life sentence, and then he was resurrected. Then they resuscitated him, and now he's suing them that his sentence ended.
I mean, technically, once you're legally dead, that is the remainder of your natural life.
For real. Razy
So,
Fingers says, thought maybe you were going to say she was serving really bad curry and Thailand really likes curry. And that's true, as long as it's actual curry and not what we call
I
curry
do
here in
love
the
like
United States.
I do love like cultural laws like that, where when it's like a country's pride of like either their cuisine or something like that, that they make it actually illegal to do it badly. Like I know Germany has laws on the books still from like the 1400s on what can be in beer,
That's good.
because it's just like, no, it's like,
What do
this
you
is
mean?
What do you mean I cannot put my LSD into the beer on mass production?
well, like they don't have like a microbrew industry over here like we do. They've always had it. It's always like the local monasteries just brewed it to make money to
Yeah.
continue operations for the year. And so, like, they have a very strict tradition of German brewing and what it means to be a German beer. And in Thailand, they probably have a very similar rule for curry.
They might indeed. So, we're gonna watch a pillow fighting video.
Oh no, I'm so scared.
Yeah. But it's not what you think, because this is, you fucking bastard. That was really loud in my ear. I didn't even mean to play the sound on it, you
It's culture and
jackasses.
talks in Vegas, isn't it?
Gosh. No. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the pillow fighting championship of the world. I'm not even kidding you. There's music on it. That's why I'm not playing sound. But this is an actual thing. Pillow fight championship. Oh, look at that. Those skills. Oh, man. Like, seriously. Grown-ass man fighting with pillows.
That is.
But let's take a moment to analyze these quote-unquote pillows, shall we? If you look at what he has in his hand here, that motherfucker has handles on it, and I'm pretty sure it's made out of the same stuff that, like, they make punching bags out of. So is this actually a pillow fight?
No, that
mean,
seems like
honestly.
walloping your friend upside the head with a sandbag.
Because look. That looks like that vinyl shit that they wrap a heavy bag in.
Yeah.
Oh, and like, oh yeah. Like, are you supposed to be cool when you're fighting with a pillow? This guy right here seems like he should be fighting with his hands.
Right?
Why is he holding a pillow like a sissy? Just
Like, come on.
asking.
Like, just drop the bag and just start throwing hands.
John Edgar says this is really a thing. How high is the gay quotient requirement to compete? 60% or more. Yes. They gots to like it in the butt. Anyway, one man show says pillow case full of sand and buckshot. That, sir, would be a fantastic fight.
I mean, it would be over the
watch
first
that.
time someone got
Hell.
hit in the head with it.
You know what? Let's be honest. If they just filled these bags right here with sawdust, that would make a much more interesting fight. And it can't be like loose, like stupid sawdust. It has to be like sawdust. Like,
Yeah, like you took it out of the bottom of your shop vac and just started stuffing it in the bottom.
It's like
of it.
15 pounds of sawdust inside this tiny little pillow, and then I'll watch your pillow fighting championships. But guys, this is a thing. These are grown-ass men hitting each other with pillows when they should just, like, look at this form right here. Okay, that guy right seems like he should be doing an actual martial arts like Muay Thai or something along those lines. He already has, understanding of where his body is. Just take it to the next step. Like why? Gosh.
And on the opposite end of the scale, you have like the, full contact HEMA guys that literally go after each other in full armor, just with blunted blades.
I've seen that. I like.
I want to participate. It looks like so much fun.
I like that a lot. All right, that's enough internet stuff. You want to see some weird articles? Stupid people being stupid. All right, we'll save the badass old lady for last. Okay, so last week when I did the show on VIX News International, I covered a story about ladies trying to pull a Weekend at Bernie's. And as I said last time, Weekend at Bernie's is not a movie that you expect to be acted out in real life.
Until
But guess
2020.
But guess what? It happened again. So this is from April 17th in CNN World. Okay, Brazilian police detain woman suspected of taking a dead man to withdraw a bank loan. Okay, just to be clear, I saw the video that's attached to this claims, and yeah, that was some disturbing fucking shit to see. He was in a wheelchair and he was just limp, and she was like propping him up, and like his like mouth would open, and like he'd fall forward, but of course he's not making noise because he's fucking dead. And it's like, what the fuck? So it's not just an American phenomenon, ladies and gentlemen. More people are catching the stupid every single day.
You know, Brazil, I thought you were better than us for a while.
Oh,
there.
bullshit. Have you ever heard of Brazil? I mean, come on. That place is a
fair.
shithole violent. Like, that's the Wild West. Go to Rio and survive. That's the objective when you arrive in Rio and you leave the tourist district. It's like, you even see it pop up in the air. And it's like,
That's one of the interesting
survive.
cultural phenomenons in Brazil is like you have like the touristy and like ritzy areas of the city, and then you have the favelas where it goes from like first like almost European or American, opulence to the third world in like 2 blocks.
Yeah.
Like to the point where if the police go in there, they send in the army.
If I'm being honest, that's Pueblo, Colorado. All right. That place is a shithole. The further east you have to get really far away from the interstate before it even starts to look nice. And even then you're all like, wow, this is just a ghetto plus. This isn't even a like suburb at this point. It's like, wow, even the nice areas have like have like actual fucking giant ass shithole rundown fire trap like apartment buildings, and oh dude, it's so bad. Crackheads, meth addicts, all this shit all over the place. It's really bad.
Dude, all over the country in big cities now. It looks like something you'd see in RoboCop.
I know. I was actually, that's another movie that, I didn't expect so soon.
Yeah.
But it's happening. It's just not, they're skipping the integrating human thing and just going straight into functional robots. Thank you.
Which I still love that when they're rolling out like the robot dogs for certain cities in 2020 and guys are just spray painting over the lens.
Yeah. Yep. I saw a recent robot that is actually pretty interesting. I should have gotten the video of it, but every single joint on its body can articulate to 360 degrees. So like it can stand up, it like can fold itself up and stand straight up and then rotate all of its things around so it doesn't have to turn to move and stuff like that.
Yeah, because a lot of the newer ones, the joints are magnetized rather than an actual servo joint. So like the joints are like fully rotatable. It's just a ball joint with a socket, and it's almost completely 360 degree rotatable.
It's pretty fucking cool, and I like it. And the design on the head even reminded me a little bit of some pit droids from Phantom Menace.
Yeah. And then
it was.
I was reading an article not too long ago. Apparently, back in 2018, DARPA was testing the intelligence of some of these things because they were basically testing a robotic, like kind of cargo carrier / sensor assistant for an infantry squad. And so they brought this thing out and they had the Marines play with it for like a week to see or to train it on how humans move and how to detect people. And
and then the whirling fan blades deployed.
Yeah, right. And then basically they were told to try to defeat it. So the way they defeated it was by doing anything other than what a human would do. So 2 guys just in the open somersaulted towards it because it was looking for, a bipedal creature walking.
Yeah.
2 Marines actually got right up to it, by putting themselves in a giant cardboard box and walking towards it.
Nice. Yep.
And apparently, according to the testers, you could hear the two Marines giggling audibly from under the box the entire time. And then one guy, this one's my favorite, he stripped all of the branches off a fir tree, stuffed them inside his uniform at weird angles, and then, quote unquote, walked like a fir tree.
Walked like a fir tree. Okay.
So,
perfectly
with
straight.
AI, it's not how it's going to outsmart you. It's you have to outstupid it.
This is true. I love that. So now on to our no shit segment. Wild pigs kill more people than sharks every year. No fucking shit.
And it's terrifying because wild pigs are actually not that far from us. About half an hour south of us in Virginia, they've been spotted at like Cape and Bridge, I think, as far as north they've got. So they're around.
Yeah, wild pigs and stuff like that are bad news. Like hogzillas down in Texas, like the wild boars and pigs that are around the wooded areas, both East Coast and West Coast. A lot of people don't think about that. And then, of course, the javelines in the South are aggressive assholes. But between 2014 and 2023, the average yearly number of fatal shark attacks worldwide was 5.8. The average number of fatal wild pig attacks was 19.7. In 2024 alone, there have already been 7 deaths because of wild pigs. 7 deaths.
In addition to all the damage they do to the crops and any kind of local agriculture you have, they do attack people. They are aggressive. They're not just defensive.
We need to kill them. Like, okay, so meat companies like Kroger and Walmart and shit like that need to go out and just hire a bunch of hunters to shoot these fucking things down, and then they can sell them for a slightly increased price than regular ham or something like that, and have it wild cut, or maybe even a slightly decreased price because there'd be so much of it, and people would be able to eat all of the fucking pork that they wanted, as long, of course, as it passed certain parasite screenings.
Yeah, obviously.
Kind of
necessary. You're going to have to check the meat, and any decent butcher will do that anyway. So
this is true.
This is true. A lot of states have already passed laws basically saying that they're essentially nuisance animals like coyotes and stuff like that, and you can shoot as many as you want, no bag limit. And some places will even pay you a bounty for taking them.
So here in Colorado, specifically one of my favorite reservoirs, they have a bounty out on pike. And for those of you who don't know what pike are, they are predatory fish. They can get up to, I think the ones here can get up to about 3 feet. So not an overly large fish, but they are packed full of teeth. They're hyper aggressive, and it's crazy. But they have $20 a head bounty on them right now at several lakes here in Colorado. And if you get in there, and I'm spilling the secrets for everybody because I'm never getting around to capitalizing on this, but if you get in when the water temperature just breaks above 40 degrees, that's when the pike are actually starting to wake up and starting to go into their aggressive spawning cycles. So they're both hungry and they're horny. So anything that is around the edges of an overhang or anything like that, much like a snake head, they will hit that shit. You reel it in. All you have to do is take the head to a ranger station and you get $20 for it. All right. And let me tell you, the reason there's a bounty on them is because there's so fucking many of them. So if you guys ever want to catch some fish and make some money, head on out to Colorado up into the mountains, talk to some rangers and see where there's some pike. $20 a head. That's good money. And if you grill them fast enough, they're actually really good.
Yeah, I know. I don't know about the pike out there. I know northern walleyes are great eating. If you get
the fish of 1,000 casts. Yes. Crazy. No, that's a muskie. Ha!
But
walleyes, dude, those are aggressive bitches.
Yeah, down here,
and those guys get
they're still a pike. It's just a different species.
Giant, huge fish. Good.
And they're. I've got a couple of them.
Cold water predators.
Really, really nice.
Yeah, and cold water predators taste the best. Okay. If you get a warm water bottom feeder, it's going to taste like dirt. That's why you get the predatory fish and you eat those. Snakehead are delicious. Pike are delicious. Trout are predatory fish. That's why they taste so good. Salmon, all of that stuff. Predatory cold water fish. Delicious. Anyway.
And you can actually catch Atlantic salmon in fresh water some of the times of the year because they're one of the few creatures on the entire planet that can live in both salt and fresh water.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Which is amazing that they evolved like that. The other one is eel, which I've caught one of on a normal fishing lure. And that thing was the biggest bastard to reel in I've ever seen. They just swim backwards.
So, did you know that sawfish and bull sharks both spend the first 6 years of their lives in freshwater?
Really?
Yep. Roughly 6 years. It depends on the maturing process of the pups, of course. But both bull sharks and sawfish will swim into rivers, much like the Fitzroy, and give birth to their pups in the rivers. And then their pups will be able to swim around and eat smaller fish and do things like that without worry of being attacked by larger predators such as other bull sharks. And of course, in Australia, it's everything else wants to kill you. So they grow up tough. You know, they're all like, yeah, I can fuck up the world. But I don't know if the Fitzroy ever recovered from the drought that it was in. It was almost dry.
What?
But I'm not sure. But yeah,
I mean, Australia is home to all sorts of interesting and horrifying wildlife.
Yes. 9 out of 10 things can kill you. The 10th one wants to, but can't.
Yeah. I mean, we in the 40K community, again, there's a planet in the lore called Catachan, where it's basically the worst jungle you've ever seen in your life. And their entire guard regiment is literally just a bunch of models of Rambo.
Yeah.
they all look like 80s action stars. They got the red bandana and the giant machine guns, shit like that. And that's why that's where they're from. Because we just call it Space Australia.
Space Australia.
Because everything there wants to kill you.
And, you know, people could still hear you scream, technically, if you're wearing a radio. But one man show says, bacon and bounty. Sounds like a name for a food cart. I agree.
That's not a bad idea.
That's literally like... That's a good marketable name, too. Bacon and bounty. Bro, get on it. Make yourself a rich man.
Right.
But anyway,
kill yourself a couple of pigs, and then fire up that smoker, buddy.
Okay, so Pope, you're aware that I only do hour-long shows, yes?
Yes.
Okay, well, we're going to take a couple of minutes to talk about one of the most badass women I've ever heard of in my life. An 85-year-old woman was handcuffed to a chair during an armed home invasion, and she killed the robber and survived. Yes, that's not the button I wanted to push. I don't want to...
That's outstanding.
Yeah. 85-year-old woman who shot and killed a man after he broke into her home in the middle of the night was threatened, hit, handcuffed to a chair, and shot multiple times, according to the newly released information. The home invasion happened on March 13th, and deputies responded just after noon. But the home invasion began at 2 a.m. The Bingham County prosecutors identified the 85-year-old woman as Christine Jeninainen. The suspect was identified as 35 of Blackfoot, Derek Ephraim Condon. Sorry. Yes, not condom. Oh my gosh. She was sleeping. She was handcuffed and hit. He threatened to kill her. Dun, dun, dun. He seemed like such a nice young man. She grabbed a gun while handcuffed. Okay, this is where it gets good. When she went down 357 Magnum, which was under her pillow. When she went back into the living room and hid the revolver.
Can handle a 357.
Yeah. So she hid the revolver between the armrest and cushion of the couch next to where she was sitting while she was waiting to see what Cordon did next. Yeah, her memory of exactly what happened next remains unclear because she's 85 years old and muscle memory and instinct kicked in and saved her ass. She was all she's all like, Mama didn't raid no bitch. Fuck you, bitch.
She reminds me of stories of my great grandmother from my dad when she was still living up in Vermont. Like she used to keep an old 410 shotgun loaded with
Ooh.
rock salt
Yeah.
because it wouldn't kill
I
you;
like
it just hurt a
410s.
lot.
I like 410s. I want to judge, but just saying.
But
That's a
she used
smart
to,
lady keeping
she
that.
used to hand load them with rock salt, so it
Yeah.
wouldn't kill you; it just hurt like an absolute bastard. And then and she used it up until about 80, 90 years old.
So loading it with rock salt is fantastic, but it's also really like it's a nice little touch if you just put like just a pinch of cayenne pepper in there with the rock salt.
Oh, that's interesting. It adds that extra spice that really
It does.
ties
It
the
just
whole thing
gives
together.
that zing. You know what I mean? And then they cry for a little bit, and it's a good time. It's a good time.
That's why I
real
actually
big-
like the dual tube concept that Kel-Tec came out with, where they have two different tubes, so you can load two different types of ammo.
Yeah.
Because one's going to be loaded with birdshot, and the other one's buck or slug.
See, that's why I would always want to have like a judge or something. It's a nice revolver. I can load it with various rounds, and each one I would load it so that each one is increasing in severity. Honestly, it would start with like rock salt. If that didn't work, I would be all like, okay, well, here's a 410 fletch it. You're like, I'm still gonna kick your ass. I'd be like, all right, well, yeah, that was a 410 slug, otherwise known as a 45 long.
The last one's a 12. I mean, in my case, like I love 12 gauge just because it's a standard caliber. You can get it everywhere. The last one's a Dragon's Breath round just because I can.
Dude, those phosphorus rounds are gorgeous. I love those things,
especially in Helldivers when you have an entire magazine of a full auto shotgun full of it.
Right.
It's just spraying fireworks essentially everywhere.
Yeah. So Christian Delorme says it's a real big tough guy, 85-year-old lady. Fuck around and find out. That's right.
He certainly did both.
Indeed. And One Man Show says 85 and could hold a Magnum. I wonder if the recoil made her release it. It's possible. I mean, but in a life or death situation, I'll give up my wrists before I give up my life.
Hell yeah. I mean,
if I'm 85 and I've got osteoarthritis or some shit like that, and I'm like, oh, this is going to hurt. So what? I'll take some more Percocet.
Not to mention, you got to respect, there's a mindset that comes in once you hit a certain age of, I don't really care anymore.
Right. For real. That was about
30. I'm not to punish you for being an asshole. I don't really give a shit what happens to me.
Yeah, that was about 28 for me. I just stopped giving bring it on, bitch. No, I'm kidding. John Edgar says, I want a judge as well, a Taurus judge as well. See, I actually have always had this wild idea for myself where I would want a Taurus judge, black, snub nose, like they come. And I say snub nose just because it's still a long gun, but it doesn't seem
the
like
shortest one they make.
Yeah. And then I would want the Smith & Wesson Governor, which is their version of the 410 revolver. And the Governor came in two options. One was brushed nickel, and the other one was just straight up steel, both of which are silver, by the way. So, I would have one black, one silver. And of course, it being a Governor, I'd get the 7-inch barrel on that one. It looked like the Joker's gun. I'd be like, oh, yeah, fuck you gonna do? Oh, got him.
Funny story, I actually knew a guy big enough to concealed carry a Smith 500.
Damn, that's a big dude.
He was less of a man and more like a shaved bear.
I've known a couple of those guys.
And literally, we didn't even know he was carrying it. And we were going into somewhere they didn't allow you to carry firearms. So he just takes this thing out and puts it on the table, and everyone else looks at him like, where the hell was that?
Yeah. So, okay. She must have only had one hand handcuffed to the chair. Would have been tough reaching under her pillow otherwise. This is true.
Yeah.
John Edgar says the muzzle blast on the 357 is formidable. I don't like shooting it. Much respect to this lady. Well, it made her feel safe. I really like the big ones. Mm-hmm.
And she probably bought it 45 years ago, never used it, and just kept it around in case she needed it.
Yeah, just in case. How about that? Second Amendment wins again. What was the Mad Max gun, Pope? Asks Christian Delorme.
On the movie, but for the Road Warrior, that is a
Road Warrior.
sawn-off break action 12 gauge.
I actually liked the break action breech loaded guns.
They are very simple, they're very efficient, and they never jam.
Indeed.
They are not
Very
the
nice.
most, obviously you get 2 shots and that's it. You got to reload, but
This is true.
it's 12 gauge. If you're
If you're that
aim is
bad.
true,
Yeah, and if you're that bad with a sawed off, like
yeah, it's a sawn off. It's supposed to spray buckshot all over the place. It's just basically point in a direction you don't want to exist anymore and pull the triggers.
this is fair. That is fair. But ladies and gentlemen, we're at our hour mark, so we're going to go ahead and wind down. So, Pope Metallicus, do you have a channel you want to pitch? You want to do anything like that? Go ahead.
Of course.
Starting now.
You can find me on Rumble at the same name, Pope Metallicus the First, where every Saturday I do midnight mass, where I basically hang out, play some good tunes for you guys for about 2 hours. It's like a little radio show thing that used to happen back in the day when radio was still relevant. And I like that format, so I'm bringing it back. But other than that, I do reviews every now and again. Look for one from Saxon coming up. It is edited. I just haven't uploaded it yet.
I have a few of those.
So that will be coming very, very shortly. And hopefully more to come. And all of that content will be over on Rumble. I'm not really doing anything on YouTube anymore.
Yes. This stream is also live on Rumble right now, so everyone on Rumble side, make sure you go and follow Pope Metallicus the First. To all of you watching right now, make sure you're subscribed to Toxalot Entertainment, both here and on Rumble, because I'm having a lot of fun doing this shit again. I know I miss Monday, but sometimes depression wins, and oh well. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, stay sexy, and as always, have a wonderful time.